Welcome into Rover Sports. We're here on a fine Tuesday night live, 97.5 HD2, as well as WWDB 860 AM. We've got Tyler Conklin producing the show as he does so well. Any sound that is good is not us, it's just Tyler and the way he mixes brilliantly. And we have Spencer G, we have Charlie Bowles, and this has really been a fun time. I didn't expect this to be a fun time. I thought that when the Sixers were eliminated, I would develop a severe terminal case of apathy with respect to NBA playoffs. And shockingly and happily, I've developed quite the opposite. I've seen two riveting NBA final series. And this is heralded by an amazing comeback win by the Villanova Knicks 2 days ago, where it looked like, for all intents and purposes, Indiana was going to take a 3-0 lead, which would have been checkmate. Might have been a gentleman's series or gentleman's sweep. But then the big cat, Karl Anthony Towns, came rumbling, stumbling, and bubbling in the way that only cat could do. And inexplicably, with Jalen Brunson having 5 fouls, the cat took the whole Knicks team and put it on his shoulder, and Cat scored 20 points in the fourth quarter to propel the New York Knickerbockers in a stunning come-from-behind victory over the Pacers in Indiana, 106-100. Your thoughts, Spencer?
Really a great game from the New York Knicks. I mean, I thought in the first half when the Pacers, opened up an 18-point lead, I thought that they were dead. And the Knicks, I mean, their defense in the second half was stifling on the Pacers. And the Pacers, they didn't run anymore. The Pacers got really tight. They played their worst half of the playoffs, and they looked invincible. But then you had Halliburton. Everyone on the Pacers played terribly. I mean, the Knicks outscored them, I believe, like 61 to maybe 43. So this heralded offense that the Pacers ran, they got really gun shy. It's like a quarterback who throws for 10 touchdowns and is hitting everything, then decides to just play the prevent offense or go in the check down mode. And that's what Indiana did. They played the prevent offense, Bruce. They didn't play aggressively. And honestly, for this one game, it was a blessing in disguise not having Brunson out there because he's little and he gets hunted on defense. And Deuce McBride played great. Landry Shamet, who I've been a fan of since he was 18 years old at Wichita State, he played great, brought energy. And the offense actually went through Towns, and Towns is streaky. He can give you 30 or he can be 2 for 11. But Towns was everything that he said he can be. And say what you want about Towns, but he's probably been an all-star a couple of times. He's going to be the NBA Hall of Fame. They let a lot of people into the Hall of Fame. And he's one of the better shooting big men of this decade. He just is. And the shots that he hits are rare, but he's that good of a shooter. And he saved the Knicks season. That's what ended up happening.
I totally think that Cat saved the Knicks season. Very improbable. When the Pacers had a 20-point lead, I was actually driving back from the shore, and I either listened to the games on radio. NBA radio is quite good, I must say.
Yeah.
Put a little plug in for that. Very good. And I was listening, I guess, to the Indiana feed, and they're quite good. And there was a 20-point lead. I came home. We've got some family members who are big Knicks fans. And I'll just mention Sam and Alexa, big ups to them. Some great family members. And I knew they were taking it hard when the Knicks were down. And when they won, I called them up. And, of course, Sam, who is your uncle, he always has an interest. He's a guy, he's kind of like Eeyore. He's never –
a little starchy?
Yeah, starchy guy. He never quite will allow – himself to be excited about the Knicks. And he said, the refereeing. Yeah. He was talking about the refs. What was
so guarded.
He's very
so
guarded. But Alexa,
we were more excited. But let's welcome in. Let's welcome in
Charlie
our
Bowles.
Rover, Charlie Bowles. And you had such a roller coaster ride. You actually picked the Knicks in Game 3, and then some breaking news. You can allow the listeners in on this, Charlie. You have just made a big announcement via text about tonight. So talk about that experience, having New York on your plays, and then what you feel about the rest of the series and tonight's game, Charlie.
Yes, I took the Knicks again tonight, +3. Again, after going back and forth all day, I look at it this way. I love to crust Thibodeau, but I have to give him credit, man. By switching Mitchell Robinson for Josh Hart, for the first time, the starters were able to break even in the plus-minus category. Again, slowing them down, generating turnovers, protecting the ball, playing tighter defense. Delon Wright, way better than campaign, at least for that one game. Deuce McBride, like you said, contributing just key buckets. So here's the blueprint for tonight, everyone.
We're listening. Go ahead.
Keep the starters. Ride McBride for 30 minutes. Stagger the stars like you did, and value every possession like you did. If you do that, we're coming home tie. And I'm not weak. I'm not a Knicks fan. They're coming home tie.
Yeah. Well, what I'm saying is, I have to admit it, and people have read my text. They've seen my these live streams, Rover Sports, and I really love multiple players of the Knicks, not the Licks. The Knicks.
French Hick from the Lick, baby.
French Hick, baby. Not Larry Bird, who's from French Lick, but the actual Knicks.
Yes.
I think Brunson's one of my favorite players because he is very intriguing style. He's a gritty guy, very old school, incredible footwork, great handwork. And so I love him. Mikal Bridges hails from Philadelphia. I haven't personally interviewed him, but I've seen him interviewed a lot. He's a quality guy. Josh Hart, if you were going to mention pound for pound, one of the toughest guys in the league, one of the most athletic guys, Hart is probably 180 pounds soaking wet. He's probably maybe 6'4", but he plays with a lot of heart. And there's something I like about Cat. I liked Cat when he was on the Timberwolves. He is a guy I kind of root for. And I remember when Charles Barkley first broke into the league, he was overweight. I mean, he slimmed down, and now he's overweight again. But when he came in, they called him the bread truck, the round mound of rebound. They didn't call him that because he was thin. They didn't call him that. But I remember how, and he certainly was a guy. When I look at Karl Anthony Towns, he's got this kind of goofy persona, and I like him. He's kind of like this schlubby. I know it's not an outfit because they all wear this. He looks kind of that's a Yiddish word. He's a schlubby kind of guy. He's got these funny, goofy faces, and he's kind of a guy you root for. He's a guy, he would have been usually picked last on a game, on an intramural game in college. He doesn't look like he'd do anything. And the fact that this guy's got great hands, and when he's hot, he's just unstoppable. To see him score 20 points, I started using the we for the Villanova Knicks. And I know I'm not a New York fan. I think you guys know I was born and bred here in Philly. But you know what? I don't have any alliance for the Pacers. I kind of root for an underdog team. And when I have a neutral series, I kind of root for them to tie the series up because I like NBA basketball. So I do find myself rooting, and we do have family, Alexa and Sam. So, yes, I'm not going to guard it. I'm not going to hide it. I'm rooting for the Knicks. Go ahead, Spence.
I think that the Knicks are attractive in certain ways as a fan because, Jalen Brunson was a second-round pick. You had Mikal Bridges, who's a mid-first-round pick, and then Josh Hart might have went undrafted. And Josh Hart, I love Josh because he's about everything but the glory parts of the game. Like anybody can go out and want to shoot a basketball or want to be a scorer. But Josh Hart, he values rebounding. He values playing defense. He'll put his body on the line. He's such a glue guy. It's like if you play in a golf scramble, Bruce, everybody wants to go and hit the driver, hit the long ball.
I know I do. We have a scramble on Thursday. And you're going to be hitting the driver. We're going to be playing your ball.
Right, but there's guys in the foursome that just want to hit the short game shots.
That would be me, of course.
And that's Josh Hart. He just does everything that is not glamorous. Like he's the guy that there's so many analogies I guess we can think of, but it's just so many guys are all about scoring and not about other aspects of the game. The Knicks, and also Thibodeau is great because he's very stubborn. The analytics hate him. So he plays like a coach maybe that is, from the 90s and doesn't listen to analytical, nerdy characters. Charlie, what do you think about Thibodeau? I know you sometimes criticize him. Do you think that this team is likable even for being a New York team?
Yeah, I mean, I think he finally figured something out. And look, it took guts, because if you put Brunson and Towns together in the series, they're a huge minus. If you separate them, they're both plus on the floor, and they're plus minus. I think Brunson is so ball dominant. He dribbles down the court. He stands at half court for 10 seconds. Everyone knows he's shooting it. He's just looking for a shot. I think Towns, honestly, gets out of a rhythm. I think it's hard to play with Brunson because he's so ball dominant. You saw what Towns did, 20 in the fourth, when Brunson wasn't in the game. I think, again, and I do, I crushed Thibodeau, but I think he may have found something. I bet. Look, I'll be shocked if these two were on the floor, maybe in the beginning of the game, but most of the game, end of the second, end of the third, or whatever. I'll bet you they're not on the court again tonight. He found a formula that seems to work.
You're right. And just a couple comments, some bullet point comments. Jalen Brunson, in certain ways, is James Harden. He's a left-handed player. He's not, he's obviously shorter than Harden, but Harden just takes the air out of the ball. Very ball-dominant guy. And Harden would do the same thing at Houston, wherever he is. He really limits the passing. And you didn't really appreciate it until he was in foul trouble, because you don't see Brunson missing a lot of minutes. He missed a ton of minutes, and you saw that Cat was able to come out of his shell. And it's true that Cat's got to be in the flow of the game. And when Cat gets a hot hand, he's not afraid to shoot. That's what's fun about him. He also would rumble down the lane and jam over people, and he's courageous. Talk about Josh Hart now. Let me talk about Hart. I'm just going to make some bullet points. I'm going to let you make bullet points, and then we're going to do some overarching. We haven't really got to the Pacers, but you and I, in preparing the pre-production, we talked a lot about the Pacers. There's a lot
This
to
is
talk
all
about.
NBA basketball.
This is all NBA.
This
Now,
is
listen,
all.
Josh Hart. Now, this is something that we all know. Josh Hart got benched. He got benched by Mitchell Robinson. And you know what? He handled it beautifully. He was interviewed after the game. I watched his interview. Total gentleman, even keel, no resentment. And you know what? You know what happens to a lot of players when they get benched? They come in, they start sulking. But you know what he did in limited play? 10 rebounds. 10 rebounds.
I'll push back a little friendly debate.
Go
How
ahead.
many minutes did he play? You said limited play.
Oh, what did I say?
I think he played 35
you're right.
minutes.
He played 30.
That's the point.
No,
I
you're
just
right.
think it's semantics.
Okay, you're right.
And I
He
think
didn't start
Josh
the
had
game.
I think Josh honestly knew that he was probably going to play.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
it wasn't
you're
like
right.
he was benched. But I get it. It's a pride thing, though. So I do think what you're saying does have meaning. I think Josh is very unselfish, and I think for guys, it is a pride thing, almost like a jersey number.
Right, if you bench a guy, if you bench Embiid,
yeah,
in other words, if you take
he
him out of
was
starting
ready,
lineup-
and that's why he did. That's why he was in the game for that long, because he did play great. So I am agreeing with part of your comments.
You're right.
Yes,
but the reason he played was out of necessity, because Brunson was out. Brunson was out for extended periods of time, and I think Anunoby was tired. He was gassed, and so I think Thibodeau, because he's riding a short bench, and I heard a very funny quote: if Thibodeau coached a baseball team, if he was a manager for a baseball team, it'd be hard to convince him to play 9
line.
players.
Kenny the Jet said that. It was a great line.
Yeah, that was a great line. But so we talk about Hart. Bullet point about Hart. Landry Shamet, another guy. Landry has been biding his time. He's not a discontent guy. He'd be a perfect backup quarterback. He's a quality guy. Wichita State. One of our favorite people is Landry. And when Landry came in, he played 11 quality minutes. There's a word called trillions. When a guy comes in, it doesn't light up the score sheet, but yet he still makes his mark on the game with defense, passing. That stuff just doesn't show up. And Landry, in those 11 minutes, basically was 1 for 2, and that 3 was really timed well. And the other guys like Deuce McBride, 15 minutes is a lot for Deuce. He doesn't usually play that much, and his 9 points really contributed. So I think that it was very interesting. Next man up.
I definitely credit Josh Hart, and like you said, he stayed ready, and for space, like for Mitchell Robinson, I think he's better in smaller spurts because he can defend and rebound, where Josh Hart is smaller and he's not a rim protector like Mitch. Mitch is just great at getting the boards. Mitch is likable too in that sense because, again, these are not like all scoring guys. Let's compare Brunson and Harden. Very interesting questions. Okay. The reason why I think they're very different is because Brunson I see as clutcher than Harden, and Brunson he just cares more. James Harden is apathetic in the biggest moments. He's out partying. He's leaving the team. He shrinks in the biggest moments where Jalen Brunson does not. Harden,
I agree with that.
Harden is also 6'5", was I think the number 3 overall pick, was a star in Houston, was a star at Oklahoma City, where Brunson has been doubted his whole life for being small and was a second-round pick. So he has that underdog chip on the shoulder, completely different personalities. Even though they're very quiet, both of them, Brunson, it doesn't seem like a partier like James Harden. Brunson goes guts, whatever to the wall, you could say. So Charlie. Yes. So this is the question.
Let me jump in.
And I do want to involve Charlie.
Of course, I do. After I make a comment.
All right.
The comment I made is that both Harden and Brunson. Let's take away their personalities. Let's take away gentlemen's clubs. Obviously, we can't compare them. Yeah. But let's look at their footwork. Harden has got exceptional footwork, and he's been in the league a long time. When he came in from Arizona, he was never a guy to really be that athletic. He very rarely leaves. He doesn't jump very high.
No.
Doesn't leave the floor. Both guys are deceptively fast. They're not fast in going, like they're not sprinters, but I think they've got very quick moves, very twitchy, and very awkward. When I say awkward, kind of herky-jerky. I think both of those guys are herky-jerky lefties. They both have the ability to get the shot off. Now, again, Harden's 6'5", but he's not a huge guy. But yet Harden has always had the ability to take that step back. Obviously, if we look at pure scoring, Harden is a Hall of Famer. But it is very true that Harden has not won the chip. And Brunson, and certain people like Charlie admittedly said he's making a Lamar Jackson comparison. He is from the show me state.
And I want to get Charlie involved in this discussion.
So now involve Charlie. Go ahead.
I bet you, like Charlie, can you analyze if Brunson could play off of the ball, and could he ever be a player that is a quote-unquote winning player that can make his teammates better, or is this just who Brunson is what we have been describing?
I lean towards the latter of the two. I think I think he has to have the ball in his hand. I think that's just who he is to be more competitive. When you look at their stats, it depends on what you're looking at. Harden literally has played 20,000 more minutes than Brunson in his career, obviously a lot longer. Points per game, Harden's got to beat rebounds per game, assists per game. But then you look at the percentages. Brunson shoots at a higher percentage from both the field and 3-point. But again, over a length of a career, they both have Lamar Jackson syndrome. None of them have won a title. Again, Harden does have the one MVP, I think. Brunson's yet to win one. Brunson's book is yet to be written. Again, until he does it in the biggest setting and advances to a final or wins a final, these guys are all going to be thrown in the same bucket. But what will separate them, again, is titles. Now, does SGA take that leap this year?
Yeah, we're going to get to that. We're going to definitely talk about that. But you're right.
It's too quick to put Brunson.
What I agree is, if somehow Brunson could somehow engineer this team as a leader to come from behind and beat the Pacers, certainly an underdog. But if he could do that, he would, number one, in my view, he would earn number one status, and he would exceed Harden, in my view, just from a winner standpoint. And I'm not sure he could do it alone. I'm not sure he could do it. What's the point spread tonight in the game, Charlie?
Knicks are +3. Over-under started at 221.5. I took the under. I think it's down around 219.5 now. Opened at 2.5. Lines creeped up, actually. Indiana was 3.5 even for a while today.
So the under, if we look at
the public's all over Indiana. The public's all over Indiana tonight.
But if we look at the under, I think the under looks attractive. When I look at the way these guys are going to be battling, I look at the defensive tenacity. I looked at the last game. With that number, it was an under game. So I really, if I was going to bet on the game, I think the under is a solid play.
Let's talk about, I think the over can hit. Let's talk about the Indiana point of view.
Let's talk
and we
about
mentioned
it. And
about
then we're going to probably roll even through the break.
Mentioned about
There's a lot to talk about.
We mentioned about their roster and how they play 7 deep. Bruce, I think if Indiana wins tonight, they just blow the doors off of them offensively, and they get running and gunning. Okay, I think that's definitely. I think that there is a possibility where the Pacers stay pedal to metal and can win tonight, and they're going to have. And I think that over's then going to hit if that's the type of game we see. I mean, what do you think about Indiana, Bruce? You mentioned Aaron Nesmith. Where's the scoring going to come from tonight? Is Siakam going to be the Game 2 Siakam, or is he going to be the quieter Game 3 Pascal Siakam?
I don't pretend to know. In other words, this Indiana Pacers team, and we're going to contrast them to OKC in certain ways, and we'll get to that because there's so much to talk about with them. Halliburton I see as the main guy, the glue, the number one guy. The point guard, incredible passer, a guy who is the Sixers could have actually gotten him. And he reminds me a lot of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in the sense that they're both leaders. They're both very wiry guys. They're not altogether dissimilar. Obviously, Gilgeous-Alexander is kind of – he can play otherworld. And Halliburton in spurts can play that way. I'm looking at Nesmith. Now, this is what I'm looking at. And as far as Charlie's concerned, Nesmith is playing on a bum ankle. He's going to be all taped up. He's not going to play like Michael Jordan. And the big problem is his task was to be the primary person to guard Brunson. I don't think he will be up to that task. The fact that he's playing is interesting. You'll probably, I wonder, with him out of the starting lineup, I wonder if they could start a McConnell or Shepard instead of Nesmith.
Has that been announced?
I don't know.
Charlie, have you heard that?
Yeah, Nesmith is playing tonight, yes.
Is he starting? Maybe he is starting. Who knows? Maybe he is starting. But
I got to believe he's starting.
But where are they getting the points from?
Yes.
If they're going to win, Siakam is a guy who is, again, if you look at him, he's not a consistent scorer. He's a very streaky guy. When he gets in flow, he's extremely athletic, and he's very confident.
Yes.
And so Siakam, you have to really ride on him and Halliburton, I think, as the two main pieces. Turner's a guy he's there primarily for rebounding and passing. He can shoot the three, but I think if you're looking for Miles Turner to be your scorer, you ain't winning.
But, Bruce, I think if you push the tempo, it's almost like whack-a-moles where you keep pounding the whack-a-mole and one of them is one of them's going to hit. It's like you're at the roulette table and you're betting, and the more times you play, the more chances there are to hit. So, Charlie, the way I look at Indiana is they have Toppin, they have Nembhard. Charlie, they have some guys that have spurtable tendencies to them. You know, Indiana. Like one of them, the more possessions they get, maybe one breaks out of its shell and has a game.
We are going to roll right through the break and continue with the Indiana Pacers. And everybody's looking forward to OKC Wolves breakdown. We are Rover Sports.
My name is Dr. Bruce Grossinger. I'm reaching out to those who suffer from spine and joint pain. We use treatment methods that require no surgery, no scalpel, no drugs.
Running, walking, or whatever your desires are, Dr. Grossinger is where you need to come.
You can benefit from the same PRP and stem cell treatment as Wilbert Montgomery. Call us now at 610-222-5675. That's 610-222-5675.